Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do circular brick stitch around a form and add beaded coraling. So I have a couple examples here of a pair of earrings that I have, and in this one you'll notice that I didn't add a jump ring to the top, so I added a large jump ring just around the entire form, and it's just a circular brick stitch, and then down here we just added some coraling. And then in this other example I have here, which is what I'm going to be showing you today, I have sewn in a closed jump ring so that it doesn't move at the top there for my earring. And I also did an extra little embellishment by just adding little gold beads to the tips, just to kind of showcase that beautiful coraling technique. So to complete this project, what you're going to need is 11O Toho seed beads. I have a 20mm ring here. And this right here is a 5mm 20 gauge closed jump ring. I'm going to be using the FireLine in the smoke, size B. Now I'm going to be using the smoke so that you can see it a little bit better today, but you'll notice in my two examples here I used the crystal FireLine. A pair of scissors as well, and I've gone ahead and thread my size 12 beading needle with a good wingspan doubled over for my thread. So let's get started. So first what you're going to do is take your thread, and you'll notice that my tails don't quite line up, because what you're going to do is you're going to take one tail, the longest side, and do just a simple overhand knot on top of your form. And then do another overhand knot just for a little extra security. And make sure that's nice and tight. So this is what you should have now. 2 knots on top of your form, and I still have a good 8-inch tail or so, because I'll need to weave that in later. So go ahead now and take your needle, and you're going to pick up 2 seed beads, and go ahead and bring those down to the form here. And what you're going to do is you're going to go underneath, you're going to want to keep those seed beads on that side, and you're going to go up through that first seed bead there, and now you'll just need to kind of wiggle it into place and just make sure that they sort of sit right next to each other, just like so. So now, moving on, you're going to pick up 1 seed bead, and you can get it all the way down on your thread. There we go. And now what you're going to do is you're going to come up through the back of that. And you'll notice that it's a little tricky in the beginning, but now you'll just want to keep working around that ring and keeping those thread bridges just going up and over. So again, you'll pick up 1 seed bead and go down through, and you'll notice it starts to sit on top a little bit better, and up through, and just pull tight, making sure that it is following that little path that you've created. And you're going to do this all the way around the ring, and then you're going to come back to the center, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Okay, so now I've come all the way around my form, and you'll notice that I still have a little bit of gap there, and when you get to this point you'll need to decide whether or not you have enough for 2 beads or if you have enough room for 1 bead. I'm going to say that's probably about a space of 1 bead, because you don't want your beads to get squished and sort of kink on you. So I am going to add 1 more bead. That looks good. And now you'll notice that I don't have a bridge between the first bead and the last bead there. So what I'm going to do is just sort of act like that's a new bead. I'm just going to go down and back. Make sure your tail does not get caught in there. Down and back. And then just going to go through and up into that first bead there. Come on, needle. There we go. Up and through that first bead. Just sort of finishing that last little one right there. So now you have your thread coming up here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do another row, but instead of going around the ring, you're going to be using these thread bridges. So just like before, you're going to pick up 2 seed beads and go ahead and string those all the way down. And now you're going to go back through one of those thread bridges, the next one, and up. And now you're going to go up through that second bead. And you're just going to get them to lay flat, kind of right next to each other, just like we did in the first round. So now you go again and you pick up 1 seed bead, move on to the next thread bridge, and then go up. And pull tight, and you'll see that they're starting to sit nicely together. So you just keep going, moving on to the next thread bridge. Now you'll come to a point where, because this row will be a little bit bigger, you'll notice that you won't move on to the next thread bridge. You'll kind of squish one into that second one. Keep making sure you have good tension on your thread. And I'm going to move on to the next one here. All right, and now I've done a few, and what I'm going to do now is, you'll notice on my other example here, let me set that down for a moment. On my other example, what I've done is I've added that closed jump ring, and I have coralling down here at the bottom. Now on this other example, I have not added the jump ring, so you can keep going until you're ready to start coralling, but you'll need to kind of decide, if you do this method, where that center point is going to be for your coralling. Now, an easy little trick for that is to go ahead and add your jump ring early. Don't wait until you get halfway around or to where you think you're going to be. So go ahead and pick up that jump ring and just slide it down, just like so. And now, don't even worry about it. It's on your thread now, so you're just going to keep going. And this is one of the examples where I'm going to reuse that same thread bridge right there, because I want to get that nice and tight in there. And you see that the jump ring is caught. And just for a little extra security, so I finished that stitch there, and I want to make sure that jump ring sits on top there. For a little extra security, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle, go through the jump ring, go down through that bead, and up through that last bead there that I just strung. You may need to wiggle your needle in there because it should be tight if you're keeping good tension. And there you go. So now you have 2 thread bridges there, and that helps to just give it that little extra security. So now you're just going to keep going. So that is officially now the midpoint of my ring, and where I'm going to start the coralling, I can use that as sort of a guide. So you're just going to continue on, doing the same method as before, that circular brick stitch all the way around. until you get to that point where you want to start your coralling, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. So now I've done that second row of brick stitching all the way around to here, and I'm going to do a little bit less coralling on my example here just to give you an idea so I can then finish it up for you quickly in this video. So now I've added that last bead there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add maybe 15 or so. There's no exact science to this, so this is your chance to really get creative. So I'm going to add my first stitch of coralling. So go ahead and pick up 15 or so beads and thread that down. And what you're going to do now is you're going to take your needle, skip that first bead, and go up through, let's say, the next 4. And go ahead and pull that tight. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up maybe 3 more beads, pull that all the way down. So I've taken those 3 and I've strung those down here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to not go over that first one and go back through those 2 beads there and pull my thread tight. And now I have my thread coming out of this bead here, so I'm going to need to go back up through the next bead, and you can go up about just a few beads there. I'll go up a couple more. There we go. Get a little bit higher and go ahead and pull that all the way through. So now I'm going to do another little coralling, and I'm going to, let's add 4 beads this time. Go ahead and thread those all the way down. And again, skip over that first bead and go into the next 3. And you can do this all in one fell swoop. Go all the way back up to that first bead that you strung in your coralling section. So that is your first coral. And now I'm just going to flip this so you can kind of see how I'm working. Now what's happened is I'm using that thread that is coming right out of there. So what am I ready to do now? Pick up 1 more and go down through. And I'm going to sort of continue that brick stitch. And you see how that sort of pulls it nice and tight together. And just go back up through that 1 bead. And now you can see it all kind of comes together and it's nice and tight there. It still has a little bit of movement, but it is a little bit tighter and kind of wobbly, but that's sort of the look that you're kind of going for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start adding another length of coral. So go ahead and pick up as many seed beads as you like. Again, usually 10 to 15 is good. You can kind of vary it. You can, sort of make a few a little bit longer, kind of layer them. It's entirely up to you. This part is just, this is the fun part. So I'll pick up a few more. There we go. And slide that all the way down. And if you ever want to kind of judge how long you want to make it, you can sort of guide it next to the one that you're there. So again, go ahead and pick up your piece, and you're going to skip that first bead, and I'm going to go a little higher in this one. So I'm going to go up through about 5 or so. Pull that tight. And I'm going to pick up 4 more beads. Thread those all the way down. Go through not the first one, but the next 3. And back up. And you can do this as much or as little as you want. You can make these really thick, or you can just do a couple little ones. I'm going to show you kind of a little fun variation. If you pick up 2 and slide those all the way down. Sorry, this is so wobbly. So you pick up 2, and then all you're going to do is just end up going back through only one bead. So you can kind of add just a little tiny one if you just want a little extra embellishment. And I'm going to go all the way back up through to that last bead and finish this coralling. And again, just pick up one bead and go through, and you just sort of just continue that brick stitch and back up through. And you're ready to start your next coralling. So what you get is you get that nice coral look while keeping the brick stitch going so it's not interrupted at all. And I just want to show you on this other example here, you'll notice that I've added the little gold beads, and all these beads represent is that last bead in that stitch. So when you go all the way down, make sure the last bead that you're not going to go back through is that other color bead, your gold bead if you like it. And then you just keep doing that throughout the coralling technique. So that's all that, this sort of little embellishment does, is you just sort of pick up that different color bead. I think it just adds a little something extra. So I'm going to finish doing a few more corallings, and then I'm going to get back to here and show you how to finish it off. Okay, so I just finished up my last bit of coralling there. So again, just continuing that brick stitch, pick up one bead, go under that next thread bridge, pull tight, and go back up through that one bead there. And here's where you're really going to want to tighten it up. There we go. And smoosh that together. And now all you're going to do is just continue on in that brick stitch just by picking up one bead, making sure it doesn't get caught in your coralling. And back up through. And just continue this all the way around, and I'll meet you right back over here in just a minute. Okay, so I'm just coming around again to that same spot where you're going to need to decide if you need 1 or 2 beads in there. So let's pick up one more under that thread bridge. And actually, I think I am just going to do that one bead. I thought I might have needed 2, but I think it'll look better if I just go into that next bead. You're just going to go down through and towards the back of that bead. You're going to find that thread bridge and come up through. And now you're going to go up through that bead to sort of complete that last little one there. Now there's a little bit of a gap, but if you just go ahead and pull that tight together, it becomes seamless. So now you're just going to take this tail, and I'm going to go over one more bead and down. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort of do a little cheat knot by going through that little section, leaving my loop, coming back around and through that loop, if you can see that. And all I'm doing is just creating sort of a little hidden knot in there. Oops, didn't catch, let me do that again. Just take your needle down, and what you're looking for is to come up through that thread bridge there. There, I think I caught it. There we go. And now just push your needle through. There we go. There's that knot I was looking for. And I'm just going to weave up through the next one, pull tight, and weave down. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off this portion of my thread. And this one, as you know, was already secured by a knot. So all you're going to do is take your needle off of your other thread, set that aside. Go ahead and thread your needle onto this end. And now what you're going to need to do is just take that thread, and you can just go up through that bead right there. See, so it's coming out that front side now. And I'm just going to go up through, over, and down. And that's it. That's all I need to do because I already tied a knot in the other end. Go ahead and take your needle off, clip that, and there you have it. That is how to finish off that coralling around that brick stitch. And this is a fun little technique, and you'll see, obviously in this one you have that, black thread that you'll see, but you don't really see any of that crystal thread here, so it's a nice, fun, seamless look. And like I said, you can keep going all the way around here and turn this into a necklace by using just a bigger jump ring. Or you can sew in your jump ring and add a little embellishment here. So this is just a few different options for that coralling technique. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can watch more videos and find all of these supplies at Beadaholique.com.